Hello and welcome to Contemporary Philippine Arts from the Regions. I am Armin Rose and I will be your guide as we go through the contents of this course. This is a continuation of the awards for Filipino artists. This is Part 7, the National Artist of the Philippines in Literature. The National Artist for Literature. Francisco Arcellana, National Artist for Literature, 1990, September 6, 1916 to August 1, 2002. Francisco Arcellana, writer, poet, essayist, critic, journalist, and teacher, is one of the most important progenitors of the modern Filipino short story in English. He pioneered the development of the short story as a lyrical prose poetic form. For Arcellana, the pride of fiction is that it is able to render truth, that it is able to present reality. Some of his short stories are Frankie, The Man Who Would Be Poe, Death in a Factory, Lina, A Clown Remembers, Divided by Two, The Mats, and his poems being The Other Woman, this being the third poem. This poem is for Matilda, To Touch You When I Touched Her, among others. Edith El Tiempo, National Artist for Literature, 1999, April 22, 1919 to August 21, 2011. Edith El Tiempo, poet, fictionist, teacher, and literary critic, is one of the finest Filipino writers in English, whose works are characterized by a remarkable fusion of style and substance, of craftsmanship and insight. As fictionist, Tiempo is as morally profound. Her language has been marked as descriptive but unburdened by scrupulous detailing. Tiempo's published works include a novel, A Blade of Fern, The Native Coast, and Alien Corn. The poetry collections, The Tracks of Babylon and Other Poems, and The Charmer's Box and Other Poems, and a short story collection, Abide, Joshua, and Other Stories. Cirilo F. Bautista, National Artist for Literature, 2014, July 9, 1941 to May 6, 2018. Cirilo F. Bautista is a poet, fictionist, and essayist with exceptional achievements and significant contributions to the development of the country's literary arts. He is acknowledged by peers and critics and the nation at large as the foremost writer of his generation. Bautista continues to contribute to the development of Philippine literature as a writer through his significant body of works, as a teacher through his discovery and encouragement of young writers in workshops and lectures, and as a critic through his essays that provide insights into the craft of writing and correctives of misconceptions about art. Major works include Summer Suns, Words and Battlefields, the Trilogy of St. Lazarus, and Galaw ng Asoge. Virgilio S. Almario, National Artist for Literature, 2003, March 9, 1944. Virgilio S. Almario, also known as Rio Alma, is a poet, literary historian, and critic who has revived and reinvented traditional Filipino poetic forms, even as he championed modernist poetics. In 34 years, he has published 12 books of poetry, which include the seminal Maquinacion and Peregrinacion, and the landmark trilogy Doktrinang Anak Pawis, Mga Retrato at Recuerdo, and Muli sa Kandungan ng Lupa. He also redefined how Filipino poetry is viewed and paved the way for the discussion of the same in his 10 books of criticisms and anthologies, among which are Ang Makata sa Panahon ng Makina, Balagtasismo versus Modernismo, Walong Dekada ng Makabagong Tulang Pilipino, Mutyang Dilim, and Barlaan at Josaphat. He translated and retold popular books so that more Filipinos will be able to enjoy them. Examples of his translated work are Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo by Jose Rizal, and he also wrote many children's books. N.V.M. Gonzalez, National Artist for Literature, 1997, September 8, 1915 to November 28, 1999. Nestor Vicente Madali Gonzalez, better known as N.V.M. Gonzalez, fictionist, essayist, poet, and teacher, articulated the Filipino spirit in rural, urban landscapes. Major works of N.V.M. Gonzalez include the following: The Winds of April, 7 Hills Away, Children of the Ash-Covered Loam and Other Stories, The Bamboo Dancers, Look Stranger, On This Island Now, Mindoro and Beyond, 21 Stories, The Bread of Salt and Other Stories, Work on the Mountain, The Novel of Justice, Selected Essays, 1968 to 1994, A Grammar of Dreams and Other Stories. Nick Joaquin, National Artist for Literature, 1976, May 4, 1917 to April 29, 2004. Nick Joaquin is regarded by many as the most distinguished Filipino writer in English writing so variedly and so well about so many aspects of the Filipino. He was well known as a historian of the brief golden age of Spain in the Philippines, as a writer of short stories with folk Roman Catholicism, as a playwright, and as a novelist. The novel The Woman Who Had Two Navels examines the country's various heritages. A Portrait of the Artist as Filipino, a celebrated play, attempts to reconcile historical events with dynamic change. The Aquinos of Tarlac, an essay on history as 3 generations, presents a biography of Benigno Aquino Jr., the assassinated senator. The action of the novel, Cave in Shadows, occurs in a period of martial law under Ferdinand Marcos. Amado V. Hernandez, National Artist for Literature, 1973, September 13, 1903 to May 24, 1970. Amado V. Hernandez, also known as Amante Hernani, Herminia de la Riva, and Julio Abril, began his writing career in various pre-World War II Tagalog newspapers like Watawat, Pagkakaisa, Makabayan, Sampaguita, and Mabuhay Extra. He served as intelligence officer for the resistance during World War II. After the war, he was elected Councilor of Manila in 1945 and 1947. He sponsored ordinance aimed at promoting workers' rights and freedom. Because of pursuing the workers' cause, he was imprisoned in 1951 for allegedly subversive activities. In prison, he wrote his most famous works, Ibong Mandaragit and Luha ng Buwaya. He returned to journalistic work after his release, writing as a columnist for Taliba and as editor of the radical newspaper Ang Masa until his death in 1970. He married national artist for theater and music Atang de la Rama, the Queen of Kundiman and Zarzuela. These are Hernandez's famous books, Luha ng Buhaya and Mga Ibong Mandaragit. F. Sionil Jose, National Artist for Literature, 2001, December 3, 1924. F. Sionil Jose is one of the most widely read Filipino writers in the English language. He is best known for his epic work, the Rosales Saga, 5 novels encompassing 100 years of Philippine history, painting a vivid documentary of Filipino life. Since starting his career in 1949, Jose has written more than 35 books, translated into more than 20 languages, and published worldwide. Now in his 90s, he continues to be a prolific writer and relentless voice against social injustice and national amnesia. This is the Rosales Saga by F. Sionil Jose. Bienvenido Lumbera, National Artist for Literature, 2006, April 11, 1932. Bienvenido Lumbera is a Filipino poet, critic, and dramatist. He is a National Artist for Literature and a recipient of the Ramon Magsaysay Award for Journalism, Literature, and Creative Communications. He won numerous literary awards, including the National Book Awards from the National Book Foundation and the Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards. His famous works include Likhang Diwa, Balaybay, Mga Tulang Lunot at Manibalang, Sa Sariling Bayan, Apat na Dulang May Musika, Pedagogy, Philippine Literature, A History and Anthology, Tales of the Manugo, Ramahari, Nasa Puso ng Amerika, and Bayani. Rolando S. Tinio, National Artist for Theater, Film, and Literature, 1997, March 5, 1937 to July 7, 1997. Rolando Tinio also received the National Artist Award for Literature. Tinio was known as a great writer that used English as a medium of a Filipino writer. He believed that only English can hone the themes that he wanted to communicate in his works. He wrote his poetic collection, Rage and Ritual, which won an award from UP. Once in a conference, an author delivered his belief in the value of the Tagalog dialect in creative writing. In response to this, Tinio published an article in the scholarly journal Philippine Studies, which contained parts of English poems translated into Tagalog. The purpose was to prove the inadequacy of Tagalog as the writer's medium. In the mid-1960s, Tinio decided to try writing in Tagalog. The product of this trial was the collection of poems now called Bagay. Tinio was the sole inventor of Taglish in Philippine poetry. Through this, he gave an authentic tone to the poetry of the native middle-class Filipino. In 1972, Tinio wrote another poetry collection, Sit-Sit sa Kuliglig, and this showed the great contrast between his old and new advocacy. Alejandro R. Roces, National Artist for Literature, 2003, July 13, 1924 to May 23, 2011. Alejandro Roces served as Secretary of Education from 1961 to 1965 during the term of Diosdado Macapagal. In 2001, Roces was appointed as Chairman of MTRCB. He also served as Board of Trustees of GSIS and maintained a column in the Philippine Star called Roses and Thorns. His famous works were Of Cocks and Kites, Fiesta, Something to Crow About, and My Brother's Peculiar Chicken. He was buried with state honors at the Libingan ng mga Bayani. Carlos P. Romulo, National Artist for Literature, 1984, January 14, 1899 to December 15, 1985. Carlos P. Romulo was a Philippine general, diplomat, and journalist known for his activities on behalf of the Allies during World War II and his later work with the United Nations. In 1931, Romulo was made editor-in-chief of TVT Publications, comprising 3 newspapers, one in English, one in Spanish, and one in Tagalog. Romulo was president of the UN General Assembly from 1949 to 1950. In 1950, he became Secretary of Foreign Affairs in the Philippines. In 1952, he was named Ambassador to the United States. Romulo's works include I Saw the Fall of the Philippines, Mother America, My Brother Americans, I See the Philippines Rise, The United, Crusade in Asia, The Meaning of Bandung, The Magsaysay Story, Friend to Friend, I Walked with Heroes, Mission to Asia, The Dialogue Begins, Contemporary Nationalism and World Order, Evasions and Response. Jose Garcia Villa, National Artist for Literature, 1973, August 5, 1908 to February 7, 1997. Jose Garcia Villa is known for introducing the reversed consonants rhyme scheme, as well as comma poems that made full use of the punctuation mark in an innovative way. He is also a short story writer, critic, and painter. He was born in Singalong, Manila to Simeon Villa, who was Emilio Aguinaldo's physician, and Gia Garcia. He studied pre-medicine at UP but did not finish it. He shifted to pre-law, but did not finish it either. He devoted a good part of his college time reading and writing stories and poems. In 1930, he won the Philippine Free Press Literary Contest for his short story, Mir Inisa, and used the prize money to go to the United States. He studied writing and taught poetry in New York City. He became Vice Consul of the United Nations in 1965. After retiring in 1973, he continued to conduct poetry workshops from his apartment in New York. His famous works include Footnote to Youth, Many Voices, Poems by Teveglian, Poem 55, Poems in Praise of Love, The Best Love Poems by Jose Garcia Villa, and Mir Inisa. Lazaro Francisco, National Artist for Literature, 2009, February 22, 1898 to June 17, 1980. Lazaro Francisco is a Tagalog novelist, the second to be awarded National Artist for writing in that language, following Amado V. Hernandez. Francisco wrote 12 novels which were serialized in Liwayway, the weekly Tagalog magazine. The nationalism of Francisco found its concrete expressions in the Kapatiran ng mga Alagad ng Wikang Filipino, a nationwide organization he established in 1958 to advocate the use of Tagalog as a national language. Carlos Quirino, National Artist for Historical Literature, 1997, January 14, 1910 to May 20, 1999. Carlos Quirino was educated in De La Salle from elementary to high school. He went to college at the University of Wisconsin and finished journalism. In 1935, he wrote his first biography on Manuel L. Quezon, entitled Man of Destiny. He made the first English biography on national hero Jose Rizal, entitled The Great Malayan. His uncle, Elpidio Quirino, then Secretary of the Interior, financed his study of law. He passed the bar exam in 1940. The same year, he won National Rifle Champion of the Philippines. When World War II broke out, he enlisted in the Philippine Army as second lieutenant. When the Japanese invaded, he was captured and sent to the Bataan Death March. He escaped in Pampanga and went underground. Some of his works include Magsaysay in the Philippines, Philippine Cartography, Filipinos at War, Who's Who in Philippine History, Why the 1986 Philippine Revolution Failed, Apo Lakay, the biography of President Elpidio Quirino of the Philippines, Philippine Tycoon, the biography of an industrialist, Vicente Madrigal. Resil Mojares, National Artist for Literature, 2018, September 4, 1943. Mojares is a multi-awarded writer, historian, and literary critic. His works include Origins and Rise of the Filipino Novel, The War Against the Americans, and books about eminent Filipinos such as Vicente Soto, Pedro Paterno, Isabelo de los Reyes, and Trinidad Pardo de Tavera. He has won several national book awards from the Manila Critics Circle and founded the Cebuano Studies Center, a library and research center dedicated to Cebuano culture and history. Ramon Muzones, National Artist for Literature, 2018, March 20, 1913 to August 17, 1992. Muzones is the preeminent name in West Visayan fiction. He is best known for his Hiligaynon novel, Margo sa Tubig, the story of Salagunting, about a fictional Muslim state in Maguindanao and the struggles of its hero, Salagunting, to wrest it from the clutches of usurpers. A tale that combines intrigue, romance, pre-colonial lore, fantasy, and adventure. It unfolded as a series in the Hiligaynon magazine, Yuhum. In 1989, he received the Gawad CCP para sa Sining, an award given every 3 years to artists whose works have enriched their art form. I do not own the pictures seen in this video. Credit for these pictures belong to their owners. The ideas discussed in this video are based on the content standards of the Department of Education. Thank you for watching and see you in the next lesson.